Hey guys, how's it going? Producer engineer Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for checking out another one of our gear reviews. Today we are taking a look at a really great bang for the buck audio interface. This is the Focusrite Scarlett 18i20. Now, one of the really common questions that we get on the channel and that I get in my personal life is, some variation on, I need an interface, I need preamps, I don't know how much to spend, I don't know what's good, I don't know what's not. The stuff that I personally use in the studio, because I am, a big kind of full-time production studio, getting commercial clients and all that kind of stuff, my gear is a little bit more advanced, it's a little bit more expensive, it's a little bit more specialized. So I wanted to do this quick video to just kind of go over this interface, which I think for the money is absolutely your best bet if you need more than just a couple mic inputs, but you don't want to break the bank. So what we'll go ahead and do is go over it. I'll fly up a couple graphics of the front and the back panel as we go over those so you can follow along. We'll talk about the features a little bit. This exact 18i20 does not belong to me personally. This belongs to my assistant producer, Callum Bear. Phenomenal guitarist, great producer, has worked here with me for a while now. And this is his interface that he runs at home just for his own little, tracking and projects and stuff. We've used it as like a remote interface when you do remote location recording a few times. And I've used plenty of other stuff in the Scarlett range. So I know what the preamps sound like. I definitely, am very, very familiar with these units overall. And they're great. They're fantastic value for money. They're super flexible. They're going to let you do a lot of different things depending on what your use case is, whether you have a band or you're trying to do, a studio with a lot of synthesizers or something. This is going to have a ton of really, really great options. So let's go ahead and do a feature rundown. Like I said, we'll fly in a graphic so you can follow along. On our front panel, we, starting at the left and kind of working our way right, we have dual XLR TRS combo jacks. And these are also function as DIs. So you can plug pretty much anything into these and you're going to be just fine, whether it's a mic or line level signal like a synthesizer or a drum machine or a guitar or a bass guitar or something like that. Immediately to the right of those, we have our gain pots for those first two channels. We also have two different phantom switches to send phantom power. The first switch will activate channels 1 through 4. Second switch will activate channels 5 through 8. Then underneath the two gain pots for our first two inputs, those front panel inputs, we have a DI switch to tell it that we're plugging in a guitar or a bass DI. And then we have pad, which is going to pull your input gain back a little bit in case you're dealing with a really hot signal. Moving on to the right, we have the 6 gain pots for the 6 more gain pots for the 6 additional onboard preamps, which we will see the input jacks for on the back. These give you front panel access to dial in your gain for those 6 pre's. That's why this unit in particular, if you need to record drums, if you have a band, if you think that you're going to need to set up and record a drum kit at any point, this is such a perfect option because you have 8 preamps, all with metering on the front. That is immediately to the right of these 6 gain pots. That's going to be your input metering. But you have a total of 8 preamps, all with the controls on the front, metering on the front, so you can dial in your drum levels really, really easily, really simply, really quickly. So again, metering to the right of that, we have our main monitor volume or kind of control room volume. That's going to control the output volume of the main monitor outs on the back. We also have dim and mute switches, which is really, really handy in case, whatever you're working and somebody walks in the room, you don't want to stop the music immediately. You can hit that dim switch and it'll just go ahead and turn it down a little bit. And then on the far right of the panel, we have 2 separate headphone outputs. Super handy. So if you're listening along with a bandmate or co-writer or whoever might be in your studio with you, you do have 2 dedicated headphone outputs with separate volumes, so you can both listen in. And then finally, obviously, a power switch. Flipping around to the back panel, tons and tons of cool stuff going on here. And again, lots of reasons why I think this thing is just fantastic. Go left to right again, we have our mains plug, our IEC plug. Then we do have SPDIF in and out. SPDIF is a digital connection protocol. It's not used a ton anymore, but if you have maybe an older preamp or something like that you want to connect, it might have a SPDIF output. It's 2 channels, digital, 48K or 44.1K over what looks like an RCA connector, but you do need a special type of cable for it. So if you need to do anything with SPDIF, you've got that. We've got MIDI in and out on traditional 5-pin MIDI cables, which is great, especially if you're using any kind of older keyboard gear, older synthesizers, older drum machines, anything like that, and newer stuff too. But most of the new stuff nowadays is all USB based. This is going to let you interface with MIDI gear of any kind from any era. It does run over USB 2.0, so if you have an older computer, maybe you're running on a laptop or something like that, you need to connect it to a USB hub. Shouldn't have any problems there and still get full functionality. We do have a word clock output. If you guys are not familiar with what word clock is basically it's something that allows you, if you're working with other digital external gear, like maybe some additional preamps or something, it allows you to synchronize the sample rate between the two of them. So it gets them to talk to each other as well as they can digitally. Basically, it's called a BNC connector. So if you do have an external ADAT preamp and you want to clock it to this unit, you can do that. Moving right from there, we have our ADAT optical in and out. Now, ADAT is another digital connection type that allows you to shoot 8 channels of audio over a single little optical cable. So this is, again, talking about like an external 8-channel preamp, it would usually connect over ADAT. And so you would go out from the preamp into this black input jack on our Focusrite, and then if you wanted to set up that word clock cable, you could do that as well and get a little bit higher quality out of that signal. But it's basically this ADAT, our optical in and out, is just going to expand your I/O. It'll let you add 8 additional channels in and out on a second unit. Focusrite does make some other 8-channel preamps, so that would be something that you could add on and connect via ADAT there. Next, we have our monitor 1 and 2, or left and right outs. Again, those are going to be controlled by that monitor volume knob on the front panel. Then we have 8 line outputs. I really, really like that they've included these 8 TRS outputs, because this is going to let us do a lot of different stuff. We can send this out to maybe a headphone box, and either in our software or in the Focusrite control panel, set up some headphone sends or some different headphone cues to send different headphone mixes to different band members, audience members, whatever you're trying to do. You can also use these line outputs to send audio out to external gear. So if you have an external compressor or something like that you'd like to use, you can connect that here, go out of this into the compressor or EQ or whatever, and then come back from that into one of these line inputs, which brings us all the way to the right. These are the 6 remaining preamps on the unit, and these are where those gain control knobs on the front. That is where you are going to control the gain for these pre's. So yeah, that is pretty much a full overview of everything on this guy. It's a lot of potential, a lot of options, super, super handy. So there you have it. Definitely plenty of options in terms of I/O, in terms of easy and convenient control, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love these Scarlett units. Focusrite really did a great job in sitting down and saying, how can we meet the needs of the largest amount of users who are going to need to do different stuff, whether it's a lot of MIDI-based stuff, or you need to track drums, or any of these kind of use case scenarios. Focusrite looked at all of them and said, how can we make a box that doesn't break the bank and meets all of those needs? And I think that they really pulled it off here. So just a few examples. Again, if you need to record drums, you can go maybe kick, snare, and then a couple of toms, a couple of overheads, and you even have a few jacks left over if you want to do top and bottom of snare, a room mic, something like that. You can easily record a full drum set using this unit. Because we do have these input jacks on the front, you can do your guitar, bass, DI right in there, or keyboard DI, no problem at all. Again, 2 headphone outputs, so if you've got multiple people in your control area, you can both listen along very comfortably, very easily. And it is expandable over that ADAT port if you want to add 8 additional preamps. That will give you 16 channels in, 16 channels out. That combined with this SPDIF input is where we get the 18 in our 18i20. This thing will do up to 18 channels if you add that second 8-channel preamp unit. And there you can really get into properly tracking a full band. Drum, overheads, top and bottom of snare, front and back of kick, each tom, pair of room mics, 2 guitar players, a stereo keyboard, a bass, and a vocal. You can fit all that in 16 tracks and record it all simultaneously, no problem at all. You can then use your line outputs on the back to send headphone mixes to each of those different band members if you wanted to. Really an incredibly versatile, really easy to use unit. My only gripe with this unit is that the control panel software that you install on your computer to set the whole thing up, to just plug and play, it's fine. But Focusrite did try to offer a lot of like cue mixing features and stuff in that software that makes it a little bit confusing to use if you really try to dive into it. This is not going to be a problem for the vast majority of users though, because, you know, even with my big fancy interface, I don't really do a ton of work in that control software. I just do wish I feel like Focusrite could have been done a better job, especially given that this is a unit aimed more at amateur and hobbyist recorders, people who are just getting started in recording, that kind of stuff. I feel like they could have done a better job of making it a little bit easier to use. It's a little bit convoluted. But, again, if you're basically just trying to plug in and record and set it up in your DAW, most of your software stuff is going to be in your DAW, not in the Focusrite control panel. You're only going to need to go in there if you need to set up certain types of headphone mixes, or if you're ever trying to use this unit without a computer, that kind of stuff. So, is what it is. But yeah, no. Overall, a really, really, really great unit. The preamps also sound really good. Do they sound flabbergastingly amazing? No, of course not. It's a $500 box with 8 preamps in it. But they sound more than passable for, the first couple years at least of your recording journey. You're not going to need to worry about upgrading to anything that you don't really suffer on quality, or, they don't really sound dark. They don't really sound like anything. They're just very transparent, neutral, kind of plain Jane preamps. But, again, just like with a mic like the MXL 990 or something like that, some of this other cheap but really good gear, if you can't get a good quality recording out of this box, it is not the box's fault. So something to keep in mind. If you would like to pick one of these up, again, I'm pretty sure they're retailing these days for about $4.99. You could probably find one used for a little bit less than that. But if you do want to grab one new, we are going to put a link down in the description below to Amazon where you can buy one. If you happen to buy it there, it does help to support the channel a little bit, so we really appreciate that. Yeah. Overall, just a great unit. Highly recommended. But what do you guys think about the Scarlett 18i20? Do you own one? Have you used one? I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have seen these units. They're incredibly popular, and for good reason. But yeah, let us know any thoughts you might have in the comments down below. We love hearing from you guys. Always a pleasure. Again, my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you dug it, and we will see you in the next one.